Another pleasant good afternoon. John Verlin, On-Demand Advertising Solutions, another digital marketing update. Got an email last week from a gentleman named Barry in North Kansas City, and got a great question. And he says, John, I've listened to some of your podcasts. I like your style and a lot of things you've said and your website, blah, blah, blah. But I'm concerned about the online investment versus advertising investment per se. And I think he's referring to, should you put your money more into a print campaign, a television campaign, or do you focus it more on Google search, Facebook ads, things of that nature, direct, possibly email marketing, things like that? And that's a great question, Barry. All of us as business owners have to make that decision. Where are we going to put the money? And it's not like you're just loaded. You've got to make those decisions as to what's the value here. Where am I going to get the most bang for the buck? Well, I've talked about this in other podcasts, but I want to reiterate this more in depth in this podcast, and I'm titling it 3 Steps to Increasing Your Online Business Listings and Rankings Bigly, to borrow a phrase from President Trump. And, I want you to think about this for a second. I'm going to say 2 words. I want you to think of the first thing that pops into your head, okay? The first word is Sears. Sears. What pops into your head? For me, I see about late 1970s or 80s and 150 years ago catalog. I mean, those are images I first thought of when I thought of that word. I don't know what you thought of, but it's not been 30 years since I've been there, but it seems like it. Okay? Now, that was a preconceived psychological image that you have formed in your head when you heard that word. Doesn't matter how much advertising they've done lately. That's a perception, a brand perception. Okay? Now keep that in the back of your head when you think about your business and where you're going to put your money. The second word I have for you, Amazon. Amazon. What comes to mind? A jungle? A tropical area somewhere in Brazil? Or something that's gradually overtaking business and different sectors of business? Today, tomorrow, and they're changing quickly. This is the brand perception that I've talked about in previous podcasts, Barry. And this is when it comes down to where are you going to put your money. This is what you have to develop so that when people think of your business, it pops in like Amazon does. Otherwise, they're going to think of you as Sears or maybe not even at all. That's the danger we face with everything shifting to smartphones and online searches, because directories we used to have, phone books, everything is gone, and it's all being driven by these searches. It's just the fact of life. So basically, my suggestion is, if I call it a marketing platform, you're going to see it there in the infographic on the blog right above the podcast. This is how things are being structured. I call it from a marketing platform standpoint. Understanding the relationship between search engines, advertising, and your content, and your website. I talked to a gentleman the other day who says, John, I don't even have a website. I don't have any social media presence. I'm in the Stone Age. And he's a service business, still doing business today, but not doing great, I guess. But that's what a lot of us still are at, depending on our age or how we're starting out with our business. So more and more prospects, Barry, are going to the web looking for information about your business. It's going to affect your credibility, your expertise, your relevance. When I was in the banking business, we had a prospect, a small business prospect, would want to apply for a checking account. But we called them, but we went online and searched their business name. And if we found arrest records, it didn't match what they told us, there was no website. If they didn't tell us, if we asked, and no, it's not, I don't have it. And why is this important if banks are doing this to qualify prospects from a financial and a legal standpoint? Because we had somebody that I actually talked to assume another person's name and opened an account in Florida in their name, and they were probably in Central America. And it could have been a money laundering scam, which we were able to track it down quickly when we heard from the actual person said, I never opened an account, and we found out somebody assumed their identity. Well, that is an online situation. Well, how much more important to a degree is your business and your presence online when prospects are doing that? What would happen, Barry, if they pulled up your business name and it wasn't there? Or your name popped up from previous situations, an arrest record? That's, again, that brand image. That's the first impression. That's the marketing platform, part of the marketing platform. You can't afford to have a bad first impression. And online is where it's starting, okay? So you either choose to do advertising, but then they've got to go somewhere to learn about you. They may see your ad in TV or on radio or magazines or whatever, but they got to follow up that ad if they're interested. And what are they most likely to do today? They might drive by your store if you have a store, and they will make assumptions based on the image of that store. The same thing when they go online to check you out for reviews, any comments. They don't want to waste their time or money. So this is why that decision has to be made. How much am I going to put to develop my brand online from a perceptual standpoint, review standpoint, etc., versus how much am I going to spend on actual TV, radio, or whatever to drive them to my site? And this is what every business owner has to decide. Recently, Facebook made changes, and it's caused a lot of uproar for small businesses. And we had a gentleman write me, and I mentioned to him, the fact remains that ownership of your content keeps you in charge of your platform, Barry. So if you invest, as Thomas Euler said, under my services page, you'll see a quote there from a gentleman in England, an advertising person, who said basically, all the advertising we see today is just fluff. You really need to put the money in content. That is stuff people really want. And that is the thing, the entity that you invest in that's going to live with you on your site and your blog perpetually. No matter if the media site changes, your blog, your content, your expertise, your image and brand perception, and your relevance are going to stay there. And you can continue to promote that as you build it out. Now, okay, 3 things you can do for building out listings and rankings to grow radically your presence. Number 1, and you've heard this before, but sign up on directories. Google My Business, Bing, Manta, Chamber of Commerce, any neighborhood Facebook business pages, anything you can do to get online, LinkedIn, profiles, everything. Because each of those entities will have listings, and your name or business name will pop up in the search engines and add to listings. Okay, number 1. Number 2, create rich media content. And this is something I talked to a gentleman who owns a business who showed me, I was blown away, using rich media content, 30 pages of Google. His name is on all the listings. There's 10, 15 listings per page. 30 pages filled with his listings. And it was through rich media content and consistent promotion. And that's the third thing, consistent promotion. Because as you see in that infographic on the marketing platform, social media is searched by Google. The more platforms you're on, multiple platforms, the more you post, promote online with relevant, rich media content showcasing your expertise, will build out those listings and rankings because the listings keep growing. And if you Google my business, and you will be, if somebody Googled your business right now and typed in Barry's lawn repair or whatever, what would they see? What would come up under the search engine? You'll be surprised. Would you be pleased with what they see, or would you be embarrassed? So this is where the rich media content comes into play, particularly in the case of video podcasting, because it's something that's placed on YouTube and it keeps growing the more you do. And you see it show up in these searches on these listings. Google my business and see what I'm talking about. On-demand advertising solutions. And you see that and you compare it to a competitor perhaps. And this is what they're doing, Barry, with your business, whether you know it or not. John Verlin, 12@AT&T.net is my email. Thank you, Barry. That was a great question. You gave me a whole show's worth of stuff to talk about. Increasing your online presence through the listings will also increase your rank on search engines. And the rich media, remember, Barry, is favored in search and social media engagements. So your decision, but maybe you do a little of both. Figure out a way to do that to balance it for you. We'll see you again next week. Let me know if you have any questions, comments. Love to hear from you.